I am Margaret Ann Windsor, kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey, and then I have to use that name. My ID was stolen. I married Childers. I knew Carl was not there. I was told he died. And later, when I found out about my kidnapping, my real parents, King Edward VIII, and was never married to Wallace Simpson. It was a character assassination takedown. My father was always married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe from Sun Prairie, Madison, Wisconsin, American school teacher, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. So that's all I'm going to say. I ran in a political campaign. If anybody cared to look that up, you probably could. I usually put an endorsement by Larry Flint because he was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia when I was doing a book on mind control, programming people to shoot and kill in mass or one or fix a bomb and put it on somebody's front door because they're programmed to. Like the Parkland in Florida, the recent one that's caused all this, that should have been a good thing, except they're going after the guns, not the programming and the mind control, which is what it's all about. So I've told over the years, my money was used what little I had. First of all, I was kidnapped and brought over here and made a pauper. And things done to me and my children that are so sick, no wonder they don't want it told. And what was done to my mom and dad. And anybody, if they cared to, could follow the timeline. And so I'm going to stop here and just get to why I'm putting this up. I want to give a comment. And after all I've been through and what's been done to me and the crimes, and to reach out on YouTube and Facebook because I couldn't get an attorney. And because I care for people. So I'm just going to read one of, I have gotten a few good ones. And on Facebook I have a few nice people. I think one of them knows exactly who. If she watches the videos, I don't know, but she's been a blessing there on Facebook. But I want to read what one person put up here. And when I talk about Martha Mitchell, she was married to he was Attorney General. Now I'm sitting here and it's been so long. When I started doing the book about mind control, and Larry Flint was shot then by a program shooter nearby Lawrenceville, Georgia. I lived in Marietta. My husband, it gets complicated whose side he was on, but he brought in a U.S. Marshal. Everybody thought his name was like Bill Cartwright, or his name was just Marshal Corn. Later, during the Wayne Williams trial, I was homeless, and Mary Welcome had his attorney. I had talked to her, and she was going to send and get a deposition. And I was almost killed again. And anyway, if any fool wants to look and then make the statements they have, they're unforgiving. Let me say that. Should the truth ever be told, and it just might, probably this person would try to make something and some money and something out of his nasty remarks. I hope not. Anyway, Mary Welcome was replaced suddenly at the end of the trial by, she had become quite famous at the time and still is a very good attorney in Atlanta. But she had been replaced by Attorney Marcus, a retired CIA. And now then, Wayne Williams had been in a training near Atlanta in a CIA program. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But anybody could follow this. And anyway, I was there. And I'd been made homeless and everything by this time. And I was back in Atlanta. And so I was there at the beginning of it. And I remember I gave a lot of information that I had Xeroxed on my own. I had no money anymore. And So I handed it, and I can't remember his name now. He was a correspondent, and he was quite popular back then, famous. And I gave it to him. Now, he was over on that side where the press was in the Wayne Williams trial, and I was over here where the people had come in. And remember, I had spoken with Mary Welcome, and she was going to get a deposition. Then she was replaced by the CIA attorney, retired attorney Marcus. But I gave it to, I should be able to remember, it seemed like it started with an S, I don't know now. But I gave it to him, and evidently during the trial, I just was there for a little while that morning. And he came over to me and he said, "Are you Peggy Childers?" And I said, "Yes." And he stood there and he said to me, and then he walked away. He said, "Are you sure that's your name?" So you can make what you want to out of it. People have so tried to make me out to be a liar. Anything I said, there was a negative to it, another reason. And I wanted to put this. This is what this guy, his name on YouTube, that he sent this message to me. And let me say this, the U.S. Marshal I was talking about, I was at his home during the Wayne Williams trial, the end of it, I think it was in, yeah. He lived in Marietta, and my husband had brought him out and introduced me to him to me back when I was doing the book in '78 at Moonraker Apartments, and Larry Flint was shot. And at that time, I thought his name was Marshal Carnwright, just like Bill Carnwright. Turned out, when I was out at his house, he ran a detective agency, and a lot of the policemen were on moonlighting for him after they were off from duty from the Cobb County Police. So anyway, I was out there homeless, and during the Wayne, well, it was the end of the Wayne Williams, and I'd been stripped of everything I had, and things done to me that are so unbelievable and sick. And I had even worked for the district attorney in 1980 when all that went down in Atlanta. And I was taken across the state line to Huntsville illegally and worked for the district attorney, Fred Simpson. And anyway, let me get back to this. The district attorney was replaced, didn't win an election. That's when John Lennon was shot. Now, I want to, for anybody who doesn't care to listen to it, it might be important that you did. The clue there, the patterns, someone asked me what I meant by the patterns. It would take a long time to try to put it together so someone else would understand it. There are murders that were done that are easy to see and tell, but to try to tell the whole thing, the timeline, would take a lot. And now I guess I'm going blank here. I was talking about the U.S. Marshal. Let me just say this, what I meant to. I was at his home. I stayed there with him and his wife in Marietta. And that's when I began to know in '80 he was U.S. Marshal, though. Not just Marshal Carnwright. But I was there. The Wayne Williams trial was closing, I think, and I'd just been there, like I say, and handed that stuff to the correspondent, and he said that to me. And I had to call Marshal Corn and see if he could help me, so he took me out to his house, him and his wife, and I stayed for about 3 days, and then he gave me a bus ticket back to Huntsville. Oh, I had no place to go there. But anyway, I looked up at this picture. I guess it's about like this over here, that size, and it had Marshal Corn right there, and it had a badge saying U.S. Marshal, Oklahoma Territory. So I don't, but I said to her, it had a badge and everything. It showed him. It goes way back, so I don't quite understand the Oklahoma Territory or something, what was on it. And I asked her, I said, "Is he a U.S. Marshal?" She said, "Well, he used to be, but that's that wasn't his name. He is a U.S. Marshal. So he was one of them to this fella, since that's writing this nasty little mucky muck remark to me. He was the one that mentioned Martha Mitchell, but I kept up with things like that. Anybody can go back and research Martha Mitchell and what happened to her, and being in seclusion because she was taken up for her husband, who was I believe he was Attorney General, wasn't he? Mitchell. And so there was a lot going on about that. But this person evidently didn't care to research anything. And maybe I shouldn't give him this much credit, but I'm going to say this. His name, and this is giving him a little, Michigan Man 1985. This is to me on YouTube, because I had, and it was public comment, and it was, to me, he said, and the public, he said, this is a bunch of crazy talk from start to finish, spewed by a deranged nutcase. And he's remarking, read my YouTube video about that I said they should investigate Congress in the murder of Martha Mitchell. Martha Mitchell was killed. She was trying to make phone calls and really trying to protect her husband, John Mitchell. And where I've been trying to tell everybody about it, it's not just what happened to me. It's connected to a lot of things. So anyway, I have to wonder about people like this who don't care, because I put enough names up here. Jack Hartsfield, an honest man, he's dead 2 years ago. He's older than me, but he was FBI and a news reporter from Huntsville, Alabama, and then he went out to L.A. He knew Larry Flint. He was a reporter in Santa Fe, New Mexican news. So I've given enough names. It's easy if somebody cared to research it, and then they'd know. Instead of sitting down and making a remark about a lady, and that's me. I don't know where my children are. I've suffered beyond belief. And taken from my mom and dad, kidnapped, brought over here, and to listen to this, I have to wonder sometimes if this person who wrote this could be one of the program shooters that I had been taken up for, telling about mind control murders and programming, like the Parkland in Florida, like the man that shot Larry Flint, that shot George Wallace. They're victims themselves. And by the way, I like George Wallace. I'm not saying that was okay. I'm just telling you that the mind control murders were done by persons who are programmed. So, I have to stop and think. This guy that has written this nasty remark to me, could he have been one of them that may have been programmed? Could have been. And I'm trying to defend him. So where is there any justice in all this?